start the recording. So yeah, so this is about the Save the Gouldian Count that has been on the bucket list for many people. Amazing event, and yeah, as Ben was just saying, definitely something that everyone recommended that everyone should do.
Yeah, ditto what the guys have said. Like over the years, I've listened to other people talk about it. I know Bruce Hockley did a talk a couple of years back, and yeah, definitely on the bucket list. And you know, the videos look great, but you got to see it to believe it. It definitely is worth going. Like I said, I've spoken about it for years with the family, and I turned 60 in July, and the wife just said, "Go." We've listened to you go on about this thing for about 8 years, so it was bloody brilliant. So you'll see the videos; it's fantastic, and yeah, highly recommended.
So perhaps we'll start. We've got it. We have got quite a few slides. So starting off, I think on the way. Hang on. It's going to work. So we're on the plane on the way. What? That's because Ben. Some of the photos have been taken portrait, and some have been taken landscape. So when it's landscape, that's fine. It's looking fine on here. Jerry, should be okay. Yeah. Is Ben already enjoying the trip? He's awake again at long last. Spent half the time snoring. It's most annoying. I forgot to bring headphones.
Well, it did start as an early trip. I think it was a 4 a.m. pickup and into the airport nice and early. And some of us had very little sleep. So where you can get sleep, you got to take it.
So we flew via Perth, and then had only a couple of hours in Perth, wasn't it? And then Kununurra. So this was as we were approaching Kununurra, and it's an interesting shot I took out of the window with my phone, showing the fires in the background that I believe are burning in different parts of the Kimberley pretty much all the time. But what an amazing landscape to see. Then I don't know what this is, but it's not a finch, so I don't know what it is. What's that, Ben?
Some kind of lizard, but it was an absolute eye opener from leaving Sydney on a 8-degree morning to getting off the plane at Kununurra at 36 degrees. It was definitely a shock to the system.
Yeah, indeed, and you'll see from some of these photos that Ben had one of these big cameras. I'll just say, if people like Craig Smealy and co are watching, who are having a shot at me, that I didn't bring a big camera with me. His photos, let's say they're improved during the trip. That one's not too bad. I don't know. That was probably from your phone, though, was it?
No, that was off the camera, but yeah, for an amateur, not too bad.
Yeah, there is the odd one that's good.
So yeah, these guys were in our first caravan park, or the first hotel at Kununurra.
So those bastards have made it all the way to WA.
That isn't a cane toad, by
the
the way.
It? There you go. I don't know.
I think it was identified as a long-toed frog.
So here's the first finches that we saw.
Yeah, this is we stayed at Kununurra, and I think Country Club Resort, and the first finches we saw double bars that were just in the gardens there. Yeah, black rup double bars.
Yeah, so for me, yeah, most exciting double bars that I've got millions of in the backyard. You know, and there they were as the first one, but still, that's one ticked off, as Ivan said. Now, how good's this photo? So Ben was improving. Not a bird though, is it? More double bars in the grass. Now here's Ben again. I was giving him a little bit of
northern fantail.
A little bit of tutorage. I'm not sure what the bird is. He'll come back and tell us. You'd be forgiven for not being able to tell from that photo. He started to get, you'll notice the tree trunk on the left in focus, and then the next photo, success. He managed to focus on the tree trunk, but unfortunately, he hasn't quite got to focusing on the birds yet.
No, we think
he's come back now, so he'll have a shot.
I think we thought it was a grey fantail, but Steve Sass was with us, and it was apparently a northern subspecies. He was very excited because it's quite rare, apparently. It's only the first one, second one's ever seen.
Oh, he was actually trying to photograph the bird. I thought it was the tree. Okay, there's some typical Gouldian habitat, which is what I don't know. Go on.
But this, like all the finches, they're typical habitat. Like it is a dry season, but there's plenty of seed on the ground. Like wherever we went, you probably see some photos where it's all been burnt, but there's still food in the ground. Like one time we were driving, can't remember what, Timber Creek or somewhere, and we saw a flock of cockatiels just took up off the ground. So obviously they were feeding on something. Went for a bit of a walk, flushed a few longtails. So so you can imagine what this looks like in the wet season when there's seeding grass everywhere. But
Yeah, so you can imagine, I think some of the, maybe, Gary can interrupt if I'm telling any lies here, but I remember reading that, the seed sort of drops off this grass, and then obviously the dry seed is very hidden and difficult for the birds to access, whereas when it burns off, they can actually access it. And there was somewhere, and I think it's coming up fairly soon, where we went to a burnt spot. Remember we saw those, I think it's where the cockatiels were as well, to be honest, and there were mast finches and stuff, and you sort of looked on the ground going, what the hell are they eating? But obviously they were finding the seed. This, I think, we're now starting at the first. Well, this is, no, is it? Don't think so. I think it's still, well, anyway, that somehow that photo's got out of order. I think we'll get back to that in a minute, because we went across to Timber Creek before the count started. So that's heading back into the Northern Territory from Western Australia. I'm not sure what we're looking at there. Where we were on the way to Timber Creek, we were at that. Was that the big boab tree or something? Wasn't it?
Yeah. So that was at the entry to the big bulb.
Oh, here we go. Gregory's tree. Yeah. So that
Gregory's
big,
tree.
yeah, an explorer's tree. And I think there are on this. So this was the first mask finches that we managed to spot when we were walking, just parked the car to go up to that Gregory tree. You can see up there on the branch, there's a young one and being fed and so on. I'll keep going. Then maybe you can hear the sound. Decent sized road train. Hey.
Yeah,
That was opposite the pub, wasn't it, Timber Creek?
That was at the pub, and we got to see a lot of these trucks. And having a chat to the driver, they're 53 meters.
Yeah, so I drove to Timber Creek and back, and they never let me drive after that. I think because I was overtaking all the road trains a bit quick. Because once you get into the Northern Territory, what's the speed limit? 150 or something, wasn't it?
Oh, it's signposted 130, but it's unlimited.
Yeah, and I was sort of rocking and rolling past it. Well, I'm used to driving in Brazil and on the autobahns in Germany, but I think I scared the crap out of them because they never let me drive after that. Anyway, it was at least we got there quick and we got back quick. The only person faster than me, I think, on that whole of everyone in the Gouldian Count is Mike Fiddler. He is Sterling Moss in disguise, Mike Fiddler. He's a crazy man. Not sure what river that is. Do you guys know? Anyway, whenever there was a river, we were searching for crocodiles. We did see the odd one, but we actually didn't see that many crocodiles.
Not saltwater. We didn't see any.
Not the big buggers. Yeah. There's a bit of the burnt sort of habitat. I'm not sure, and typical boab trees, and obviously the termite mounds. More termite mounds. So there were mast finches there, I believe. That's where we stopped, wasn't it? That's where the cockatiels were. Oh, and longtails too.
Yeah. And the cockatiels.
Yeah. That's at Timber Creek. See you in the NT. I bought my kind of son-in-law a T-shirt with that logo on it. He's going to get it for Christmas. Hope he doesn't watch this. Find out beforehand. It's very appropriate for him, actually. Won't go into more detail. No, he's a good bloke. He's a good bloke. What's that thing?
All right, this was basically one of the first snakes that we saw. It was just sitting on the side of the road. It had been clipped, and it's a black-headed python. So it was one of the species I definitely wanted to see while we were in the Kimberleys. Unfortunately, the one that I saw was dead.
Termite mounds everywhere. And as you can see, like that's pretty burnt ground, and yet there were finches there, and the cockatiels were finding grass seeds. Is that no? I think that's red-tailed blacks. Actually, some red-tailed blacks, maybe. I think the next one might be a video of them. Oh no, that's the boab. That's Gregory's tree. So we're jumping around a bit here. Now we're on the approach into Wyndham. I don't know. We're jumping around a bit, but that's all right. So this is an old. I don't know if he was a trapper, but he was an exporter, and the birds were held in those aviaries at the back many years ago when trapping was legal before exporting. But I think they were actually used as breeding aviaries after that, I believe. Maybe Gary can yell out if I'm wrong there. I think it was a Dutch fellow. I can't remember his name, but I do remember,
Yep.
Googling the whole thing many years ago.
Hmm.
Sorry, Gary.
That's correct. Yep. They were used to hold trapped birds. There are a few trappers that fed into that complex.
Yeah. I'll let Ivan and Ben identify the location because
Not sure if you can see it. And this is their typical habitat. There is one in there. I'm not sure if we can
Somewhere.
find it in there, but
there somewhere, is it? I can't see it.
it's
What?
not sure.
Sorry.
But it's anyway interesting with these rocks. You think it looks
There's
like
a rock
Lego
here,
placed
there's a-
one on top of the
somewhere
other,
there.
but apparently it's over the course of time, just water. Water's fit through the fissures and creates looks like someone just put blocks on top of one another. But
Oh, this was this is the prison tree. That's right. It's a Boab where they used to put it's a sort of stopover. So the prisoner would get whacked in there basically for the night. Massive tree. I think there's another. Oh, now we're looking at something completely different. Aboriginal art. Where was that again?
This was on the way up to one of the dams on the way to a barb tree. And in one of these caves, there was actually a big olive python sitting in there. It was too dark to get a photo of one, but it was well spotted to whoever saw it first.
And here's Lenny the Lens, Steve Sass with his famous Lenny the Lens, who's got his own TikTok, not his own TikTok, what is it, Instagram and Facebook and all that, Lenny the Lens. There's that prison tree, so you can see the size of it. We were looking through the window before. Amazing things, these Boabs, so there's a bit of information about it. Here we go again. Now we're back at the, so that was that day that we must have seen the prison tree and gone to the Aboriginal art because Steve and Linda are with us.
So actually in that photo, there is a bird. Go back to it.
Is there? Sorry, which photo?
That one.
In that one, there's a bird there.
It was it was well spotted by someone, and it was
There.
it was a sandstone strike thrush.
Is it made out of sandstone or is it actually a strike thrush?
They actually live in the sandstones.
Yeah, that is. You're very lucky to see that.
Did you mean to photograph that, Ben, or did that just happen to be in the photo and you spotted it afterwards?
I did see it, and it was a deliberate photo.
So there you go. His photos are improving, and I noticed this next one, which I think is Ben's photo as well, is not a bad photo, is it? Or maybe it's Ivan's. No, I think it's Ben's. Yep, not a bad photo of double bars. Now, I think this is Ivan's. This one.
I think they're called grey-crowned babblers. As you're driving around, we'd see all these stick nests. Looked a bit like a big finch nest, like song sparrow nest. And we're wondering what they were everywhere. We wondered what these things were. They were in one park looking for some crimson finches, and we found these building nest, feeding chicks. They're always in groups, and they're a little bit like galahs in that looks like they're fighting, but actually playing with each other. You'd see them rolling around, with the talons clasped together. But really attractive bird and very common.
Our first.
This is that
sighting
same park.
of
We're walking
crimsons, I
around.
think. Yep.
First we saw crimson finches. Actually, were quite hard to see. It was I think it was in the afternoon, so it was quite hot, but they were in the shade. And we almost stepped on them before we saw them. There's a flock, probably about 20 or 30 of them. And peaceful doves, again, very common. We saw them everywhere.
Right.
Oh, this is I
Well,
was being lazy sitting under the tree and the birds came to me. So that's.
So there was quite a few soft bills that were all up there
what
looking
time
at.
do you go to the airport?
And this one is
Oh,
a
okay.
black-chinned honey eater.
Peaceful dove. Oh, is it a peaceful dove? No. Kingfisher. Old mate. Plover. Well, not plover.
Lapwing.
Mast lapwing. Another babbler. There's the babbler nest, I believe. Is that right? Yeah.
All right. So we
So, yeah, well, 9:30, 10 o'clock. I'm not sure exactly.
You might want to
Yep.
you might want to mute yourself, Gary, please. Thank you.
All right, so we made our way over to Wyndham, and stayed at the Wyndham Caravan Park, and we all got to stay in these little cabins, and they were quite comfy for what they are, and they're all airconned, got their own kitchen, bathroom, double bed, and the aircon doesn't get shut off.
Yeah, so basically the idea was during the count, you kind of get up at some ridiculous hour of the morning, go out and do the Gouldian Count wherever you're going for the morning, come back, you know, have a bit of a yak and have some breakfast and stuff together in the caravan park, then go back to your room and get into the cool because it was bloody hot during the day. And then sort of after lunch, you know, wander out and go do some sightseeing or whatever, go to the pub, whatever, you know, and have dinner and stuff. But they were really comfortable. Yeah.
So the count started on the Monday, and we all met in the common area at 5 a.m. to depart soon after. You've got to be on site, ready to start counting at 5:45, and the count runs through to quarter to 8 or 8 o'clock. So you've got a couple of hours there. So it is an early start, but you're back at camp by 8:30, 8:45 anyway. So those that are tired can sleep.
That's the Steve Sass, who most of you would know, who owns Enviro Key. So he put together that list of birds around the Wyndham area. So it's Wyndham Caravan Park we're staying in. Most of those were, I guess, well, not due to me, due to Ivan and Ben.
So they actually hold a competition during the count. So it's for those that can see the most species during the week. So it runs from basically Sunday afternoon through to the Thursday night. And this year it was taken out by Steve Sass with 134 species. So for a first year for us that we can't identify everything, to come in with 107 wasn't a bad count. Yeah, well, Steve wanted to be on his own.
Ben and I would have put my name on there, but I had little to do with that. I only had a normal phone. So it's like we've gone to somewhere where there's a bird hide or something, and I'm like, well, that's a duck over there, isn't it? That's about as much as I could tell. Thankfully, like when you're actually doing the count, and you'll see. So this was the first waterhole that I went to, and I remember. So that's what it looks like. And I was with Gary Fitt actually that morning. He drove us out, and he sort of, as that was sort of the first one that we came, and I'm like, what the hell? I'm going to sit there. Like, what birds are ever going to see that? Like, calling that a waterhole is a bit of an exaggeration. It's a puddle. I mean, it's a tiny little thing. I thought this isn't going to happen at all. But as you'll see, not quite.
Show the video. Well, I was at the same spot. Like I said, it's about buckets. But we'll watch this first.
So this is from where I was sitting. So these are all a multitude of finches. It's probably a little hard to see exactly in the video what's coming in, but it's a selection of Mars finches, Gouldians, longtails, what else? Double bars, and it's like a little sunken hole that would be, I don't know, it'd be sort of 4 inches by 5 inches, or maybe 6 inches by 6 inches, and I don't know how many I counted that one. I think it was about 800.
What I think was, it's a bit like fishing. Sam was there the day before me. He saw 800 finches there. I was there the next day. I think I saw about 60 or 70. Whereas Steve Sass, this was, I think, they call it bumpy. I think ABC. It used to be a golf course, apparently. But Steve Sass was 100 metres behind me. He counted over 1,000. But it was good. I can't remember exactly how many watering sites. I think it's about 15 or what have you. And over the 5 days, they'd rotate you around. They'd usually mix the groups and you go to different places. And out of 27 volunteers, I think 2/3 of us, or 3/4, were first timers. So they did a very good job. They made sure that we all, at least one day, had a really good spot, or 2 days. And we'll show you one spot we all did go to, which was incredible.
Yeah, but this was, I mean, for me, because this was the first day of the count, I'm kind of sitting there thinking, yeah, right, how many birds can, and to sort of, you sort of, holy hell, they're Gouldians, aren't they? I can hear them. And then you look up in the sort of top of this dead tree next to you, and there's sort of half a dozen Gouldians. So, yeah, it was pretty impressive, for somebody who's kept Gouldians since he was a kid. you know, to see them in the wild. And then, of course, to see hundreds of them coming in. And then by the second day, later on, it just became, whatever. But yeah, it was, definitely something I'd recommend to everybody to do. Very memorable.
It's
So
all
this-
like Ben said, we'd have to be at the spot by we had to be ready by 5:45. So the count was for 2 hours. And most of the birds come in, especially Gouldians, most of them came in by between 6 and 7 a.m. Not many Gouldians after 7 a.m. Plenty of other finches, and then we'd stop the count after 2 hours.
So you've got a clipboard, and your job is, I mean, at this side, I'm on my own. You've got your clipboard, and it's basically got, red-headed cocks, red-headed hens, black-headed cocks, black-headed hens. You don't see any yellow juveniles, that's right. And then a couple of other species too, just more out of interest. Obviously, the aim is to count the Gouldians. But as you can imagine, so you wait until they actually drink is the idea, because they only drink once, and then they disappear for the day. So it's not easy when they're all coming, when masses of them are coming in, to kind of keep track of how many hens and cocks and all the rest of it, and you'll see it gets worse at some holes. It's like
It gets worse or gets
This
better,
is
depending
like
on your definition.
20, it was insane.
Yeah.
When they go into that hole, because you could, from where I was sitting, it's not clear on here, but sort of in there is just the water hole.
That
So
was
when
interesting.
they jump
Gouldian
down
finches
into that water,
apparently only
that's
drink
what I'm
once a
counting.
day. So the Gouldian's gone down in there. We can be pretty confident it's had a drink, and off she goes, and they won't come back. The other things like longtails and stars, they may well come back. But the main thing of this count, we try to be as exact as we can with Gouldians. The others, as long as you get a rough, pretty good, we don't have to be exact. And plus, there's a lot more of them, so you just simply can't. But we're sure some of the things like stars came back to have a bath and things like that. It is. It's not. It's not easy. Like when we
I'm
got
pretty sure the Gouldians do just drink and go. They're pretty sure about that. The ones I think that were definitely coming back multiple times were like double bars and crimsons that were obviously in the area. Like there was sort of a family group of double bars and a family, like small numbers of crimsons, but obviously a pair and or a small family group. And I think they were kind of resident in the area. Whereas the Gouldians were coming in from a long distance, you could not hear them at all, and then a flock would arrive, go down and drink. So it's not like that was continuous for 2 hours. There was a fair amount of time when there's nothing.
And when you're counting the birds, it's a bit of common sense too. Like if the birds get scared off and fly up to the tree and then fly back down, you don't count them again. You try and watch them as well as what's coming in. Look, you're always going to double count some things. Yes.
Like see there, so that's there's obviously masks and longtails coming in that particular part of the video. More longtails, but see as they sort of like it's a little bit down into that, you can't quite see the water there, but 6 inches under,
Yeah. It's a natural spring, so at the base of the tree,
Well, the researchers basically walk the hills and walk the area, searching for these water holes. Yeah. But there's a lot of green patches where there's no water too. Yeah. So I think we stole that one from Steve Sass, did we? Thank you, Steve.
Anyone going, I'd recommend they get a tripod like that up there. Because we didn't have that, but Steve Sass did. So he put that right up at the water hole, and he's got some amazing
Actually, not
footage.
Steve Sass, Lenny the Lens.
Lenny the Lens.
Steve was just the operator. Lenny the Lens was the one who did the work. Yeah. Now, I think
Brown quail.
Yeah, but where was this?
Sings.
Was this at Sings? Was
It's
it?
called
Some
Sings
brown
Gardens.
snake, yeah.
Again, looks like it's natural habitat, but apparently I'm not sure how many 100 years ago, what have you. It was a market garden, 20 acres market garden.
So is that Sings? Is that the yeah? So as you can see with that video, perhaps I'll just go back and play it again. So there's a number of us sitting in different spots when we go to this one. So I presume that I took that video. I'm not sure, but there's up the other end. There'd be, if you can see, but there would be somebody. There's probably, I think it was Steve Sass sitting on a chair
I think there
maybe
were
it
like
was you, Ivan.
three
Yeah.
sort of groups,
Yeah.
either ones or twos, because
We've
it's
just-
quite long.
Yeah, we just got to identify which bit we're going to
We
do.
see quite a
So,
few birds.
so there, of course, there was a reasonable amount of birds total, I think, but because the shoreline is pretty spread out, they're kind of spread out a bit where they come in.
I was there a couple of times. We didn't see a lot of birds, but you saw a variety of birds. There were the finches, but they saw brown quail came down every day. And one of the counters actually saw, I think sparrowhawk came through and grabbed one for brekkie. But we had like red-backed wrens, heaps of bee eaters, surprising number of bee eaters you see there. Lots of red-tailed black cockatoos. I think they're stars and longtails.
So these buggers are doing a bit more than just drinking, unfortunately, which makes it
the
difficult.
stars like having a bath.
Yeah. This is things as well. I think we went, that might be in the evening when we went.
That was the Sunday evening when we first got there. We went out for a drive, just to do a little bit of spotting, and got to see just an awesome sunset out in the bush.
So just for the benefit of those people who are knocking my photography ability, that they were from my phone, those fantastic sunset photos. I've offered them to people to use as, as postcards and, blow up and put on their wall. Haven't yet had any takers, so if you're interested, let me know. Whatever that is. Some sort of water bird.
That's one of the first water birds that we did see. It wasn't seen by a few people, but it has been identified as a Ballion's crake.
And those are reeds that are focused at the front of the photo.
Yeah, well, I was more a landscape photographer, and if I got birds in the background, it was an advantage.
Couple of black budgies, red-tailed black budgies. That was pretty spectacular. It reminded me of the Lear's macaws that I spoke about here, I think.
And that was
hearing
only a
them flying over.
portion of the flock that did fly through.
Yeah. The crimsons, and quite often you saw them sort of perching in the top of the pandanus.
Yeah, like I said, at that where Sam took that photo, there was quite a few crimsons. I'm not sure which one, 30 or 40 crimsons. So they were quite common there.
There's the brown quail again, just in case you missed him last time. Purple chooks. So this was still at Sings. They kind of very slowly walked past. There was also a really old magpie goose that was hanging around as well with them for some reason. But because it was a little bit, there's periods of time when there's no finches. So yeah, seeing these guys is kind of cool too. There is again, yeah. Flycatcher, is it? Yep. You'll notice that Ben's photos are starting to be a bit more in focus, or maybe that's Ivan's.
It's Ben's.
And another one, and another one. No, I think actually a little bit dodgy, getting better, much better. This is the lookout at Wyndham.
Yeah, with the old meat works, what's left of it down next to the river.
Looking at the other way.
Like I said, there's heaps and heaps of birds. We didn't see many other animals. A few wallabies, a dingo. We didn't see any big saltwater crocs. We did see the outline in the mud where they'd been, previous night or previous day. One of the local guys, there were 3 local guys called Rodneys that take part in the count, and one did offer to take us out look for crocs, and he took us a few of the keen fishermen in the group out barramundi fishing as well. So yeah, friendly locals. So there's lots of other activities to do if you want to.
Yeah, we did get offered to go fishing. So the first comment or first question was, how big's the boat? He goes, it's a crocs. And I quickly responded saying, look, I think I might give this fishing trip a miss. So that was we went back up on top of the hill for dinner on the Thursday night as a group. Those barbecues are big, and so are those steaks.
Yeah, they were Ben and Ivan sausages and my steaks, I think, weren't they? But the Victorian connection it's a shame we didn't get a photo of that barramundi, because it was on the hot plate next to us that they caught, and it was a massive thing. And I thought, that's going to take all night to cook that, but no, it didn't. And you know what? It was really, really nice. They did a fantastic job. So
The whole fish.
Even that Mornington Peninsula connection, yeah, they did a fantastic job. It was really nice, really good. Lights of the city. I'm really not sure how to turn the volume down on that particular, because it seems to be the volume on the videos is really loud. But that was Lenny the lens, obviously.
This is another spot called Chamuli. It's a rather big dam, but we'll see if we pan back. But the finches landed on the other side. You'll see there's like a sandy patch right in the corner. Most of the other watering sites, you're within, I'd say 5 or 6 meters.
Yeah,
So you did need binoculars. You could see the birds, identify them easily. Here, that you can see just to the right, that
just
sort of
that-
sandy, muddy part.
Yeah,
you needed binoculars, but that was about 20 meters away. But this is one of the best spots in, as far as the other spots. A lot of the finches just came in. You couldn't see them flying in, whereas here you could see the flocks coming through. And it's interesting to see things like star finches, just at different flight patterns. When they come in, they're like an arrow. They just go straight. So after a while, you could identify a flock in the distance by the way they flew. They'd go like an arrow, whereas the Gouldians would be more like this in the whole flock. So we saw about 1,000. I'd say both Sam and I were here, and Steve was down the other end. Some of the finches went into the reeds, but the great majority went into that little spot there. And so for the first hour, we had first 40 minutes, we had heaps of finches. Then a sparrowhawk turned up. And then the finches disappeared for about 15 minutes. Stars started coming down. Sparrowhawk came back again, missed them. So we did that 3 times. But it's just interesting to see. Like now it's so quiet, you wouldn't know there's hundreds of finches and doves around, but because a sparrowhawk was there, it was just total silence. But then when he disappeared, then all the finches came back.
So this was just after the sparrowhawk had gone. So we had this massive, quite a bit, maybe an hour when that sparrowhawk was around, and we did see him. So they're all stars. Where they were, look, it's like they didn't exist. They just disappeared, completely. But then the sparrowhawk was aware they were there. As soon as they'd come out, remember, he'd sort of fly around from behind, like with the sun behind him and into the shadow to try and grab one. And then they'd all disappear. And then, and suddenly they were aware that he must have gone, because thousands of them came out at once. Because by this time it was getting a bit late, wasn't it? So they were desperate to have a drink.
Like I said, for the first hour, we saw 1,000 finches, and probably 45 minutes, not a finch. But then whether sparrowhawk just flew off or caught something behind us, I don't know. But as soon as he disappeared, we had about 15 more minutes, and then all the finches and doves started. We saw about 200 diamond doves here as well.
Yeah, the video I think the next one, these they're the diamond doves. So we'd only seen a couple of diamond doves in the 2 hours prior, and I don't know where these were, because there wasn't really much vegetation, but there was like hundreds of them. Just once they realised the sparrowhawk was gone, bang, they all appeared. Hundreds of diamond doves came down to drink. So they all wanted to drink at that spot. And the only reason I think those star finches in this previous video were drinking there and amongst the grass was because they were just desperate for a drink, because they'd been sitting there waiting, for the best part of an hour or so to have their drink for the day and bugger off to go and feed. But it was kind of cool that the sparrowhawk was there, because There was also, what else was there? There was some other bird of prey that was flying around that was...
But they weren't black kite, but they weren't going for the finches.
The finches just didn't give a shit about it. Yeah. Did not give a shit. They knew exactly which type of bird of prey was a risk to them. Yeah. I don't know why that's in there, but anyway, the Croc Cafe. So I had a croc pie. I think
it wasn't bad.
What else do we have? Buffalo or something?
Yeah, first day we dropped in there for a croc pie, and we did go back the next day to try out their other range, and it was a sweet chili buffalo.
And then the Save the Gouldian Fund took us there for dinner one night, which was nice of them. So we all sort of sat outside.
And it was very well organised at dinner. It all come out. Everyone's name was on the list, so it came out fairly quick. Servings were quite decent.
Servings were massive. Like, people who ordered chicken got half a chicken. And I mean, it was a big half a chicken. And I ordered steak, and it was like those pieces of rump that you saw at the barbecue were small compared to what was it? Was like a plate of steak. It was like, what the hell?
But looking back on it, we didn't see any emus while we were running around, so maybe they did take the emus and call it chickens.
He's nicknamed this bloke Uncle Boab. So this guy was outside the bottle-o. I thought it was terrific. Don't know what his real name is, local. But he'd you can't really see the details. Should have bought that boab pod, but he'd carved various Aboriginal things into the boab pod. So what's that? A boab pod off a boab tree. So inside it's the seed from the boab tree. Yeah, and he'd carved into it.
Quite
So
intricate.
in his
Good
shop
job.
selling them
Quite
for fortune.
intricate.
Yeah, he probably would have taken $5, but I gave him 20. One drinking beer, and that's obviously what he wanted, to sell his boab pods to buy some beer. What's wrong with that? It's a good idea. Good on him. Magpie geese. Magpie geeses. What are they? Wedge tails. Couple of wedgies. There he is again, on one of them. Bee eaters were everywhere. I wasn't aware that there were so many up there, but they were everywhere. Wherever there was water, there was bee eaters.
And this location here was back in Kununurra. And on location to go look for the purple crown fairy wrens. And we didn't get to see them, unfortunately, but what we did see was a lot of bird life. And the amazing thing was these rainbow bee eaters were actually nesting in the sandbanks, and just their little nest holes were everywhere.
Sure, what happened there? That looked like it was going to be a video, but hang on, what did we do here? Here we go. Where are we now?
So this looks like possibly Upper Fork.
Yep. So there's it must be, which is another one of the count places. But again, Crimson sitting right at top of the pandanus, just checking out the world. Sorted finches, obviously Gouldians in amongst them.
Gouldians up in the trees.
Young Gouldians in the tree and an adult. A few adults actually when you look closer. And again. Not sure what we're looking
Bit of
at
a
there.
landscape photo with a few birds in the background.
Yeah, just where are the birds?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 6 in there.
Okay. Is that your word for
7.
it? Yeah. There's a
Yeah.
juvenile.
A couple below it.
One there.
And then to the right.
There looks like that actually could be a red-headed hen. We didn't, strangely, we saw way more red-headed cocks than red-headed hens, and that was everybody. And I don't know why that is. Next one. Starfinches, by the look of it. Hiding in amongst the pandanus, young ones. Double bar and a Gouldian.
No, double bar and a...
Oh, no, that's a honey eater.
Yeah, rufous-throated honey eater.
That's a rufous-throated honey eater, apparently.
You'll get to see those.
Yep.
Don't get too far ahead.
Some more crimsons. Some sort of whistler, is it? No?
Could be the northern fantail.
Oh, maybe a northern fantail. Okay. More finches. Dead snake.
Yeah, so on the way back from one of the count holes, we come across a couple of black kites down on the road, and they're having a go at an olive python.
Another crimson in the pandanus. Zebras. There were zebras there as well.
Yeah,
It was kind of good to see some zebbies, actually.
Yeah, we didn't see a lot of zebs, but this was at a billabong, and it was quite a large billabong. But I've never seen so many water birds in my life. There were hundreds of pelicans, ducks, pygmy geese, brolgas. There was burdekin ducks. It just showed you how much food must be in this billabong. Apparently, there is a resident big saltwater croc. The three of us didn't see it, but apparently the day before, I think one group was down there and it caught and ate a barramundi, and a day or two later caught one of the ducks. But they were just jacanas and grebes, and there were hundreds and hundreds of water birds at this place. I think they call this Brolga Lagoon. Again, there would have been Brolga ponds. There would have been 100 plus Brolgas there.
What's that guy, Ben?
This guy wasn't seen too often. It's a tawny grass bird. So I was fortunate to see it at 2 different sites. One at the lagoon and one at the Brolga ponds.
Now we're getting some action. This is This is kind of, as an old guy busher, and you'll see a photo of him who put some water out at a particular site. This was up in the tree above that. So that's at this point in time, a whole heap of stars, obviously, and assorted others. There's a lot of longtails in amongst them too, had arrived in the tree just above where the water hole is. So it's a natural water hole, but he also sort of tops it up to make sure that it doesn't dry out.
All right.
So look at this.
Yeah.
Try and count those.
At this particular site, there was three of us. The day I went, it was Sam, myself, and Bushy. I think when it was Ben, Mel, one took the tally. I was doing that, and while the other two counted the finches, they did split up the different species amongst them. And Brian did ask about juvenile. There was a stack of juvenile stars, and can be sometimes hard to differentiate between them and immature Gouldians. But this particular spot, the day we were there, in 2 hours we saw 3,600 finches. There's about 350 adult Gouldians, 550 immatures, about 1,000 longtails, about 1,600 stars. I'll hand over to Ben. I think Ben had an even better day. But like one star, get there at 5:30, not a bird. 5:45, down they come, and then it's non-stop. First you're counted by ones and twos, and there's one there when you can hear Sam, I'm not sure his volume, go, oh, Jesus. It was 5 stars, and we're counted by 10s. Then it was 20s, then it was 50s. It was just, I'll give it to Ben, because I think he had even more birds the next day.
Yeah, well,
I think these are Ben's videos, actually.
Yeah, this is the day I got to go to this hole on the last day. And in the 2 hours that we were there, we were just over 4,500 birds, and 2,500 of those were stars. It was absolutely phenomenal. So there was 4 of us doing the count, 2 people counting, 2 people scribing, taking the numbers, and it's just so hard. Like, you're trying to distinguish what each is. I was fairly fortunate. I was allocated the Gouldians in the adults, so I had to distinguish male from female in the red and the blackheads. And the other couple decided to take the juveniles, and I think they got 800 juveniles as well as the 2,500 stars.
So as you can see there, the water hole is kind of at the front, slightly to the right. He does have sort of a basin that's covered up where you can see probably, some sort of rocks stacked up behind where most of the birds are. So you're trying to count them as they go into there, but honestly here it becomes, it's a bit of a guesstimate really, of exactly how many there are. What's that, sorry? Yeah, okay, so you can hear the birds.
Yeah, at the start you will hear budgies.
We'll shut up.
So we also had greater bowerbirds, spinifex pigeons coming down. Few hawks were around that day, and that's probably what has scared them off. But it was just an absolute phenomenal place to try and count.
So although this guy's name is Bushy, his actual name is, I think, Rodney Bushell. So it's, a very apt name, isn't it?
And what do you He also takes people out birding as well. Definitely do that. But what some of these did that earlier, if some of these people had serious cameras, so while you're doing the count, you see a lot of birds, but you don't get a lot of chance to take photos or anything like that because you're so too busy. But some people went out a couple of days earlier. He took them out for a couple of hours, so they got hundreds, if not thousands, of shots. Plenty of time to sit back and enjoy the birds.
So the next video that's about to start is
So after we left the count,
Ivanhoe Crossing. Maybe we'll just, I don't think it goes for long, the video. So you get the idea.
so this is the Ivanhoe Crossing. I did hear that it was a good spot to see crocs. And when I got there and saw these guys standing knee deep in water on the crossing, I was absolutely shocked. And there would have been at least 10 guys standing on the crossing. A couple of them did catch fish, and I had a young guy come up to me and was telling me that right at the entranceway to the causeway, there was a dog taken only a couple of days prior by a 4.5 metre resident croc, and then he proceeded to run down into the water and across the crossing. So they're definitely not scared of the local lizards. This guy was a 2-wheel drive Hilux. I can't believe he crossed this crossing either.
Now we're at the grog shop.
It's a place called the Hoocher. It's a rum and gin distillery. So you've got to do something when it's really hot. Like the mornings are quite pleasant. I thought we'd be doing this all day. Surprisingly, not many flies. So the mornings are quite pleasant. The afternoon gets up to about 38 degrees, a little bit too hot. Some did go out birding. We did it once or twice, but some of we just have a bit of a nap or whatever at the hotel. And then we thought let's do a bit of sightseeing with a few beers and tried a few rums.
Yeah, I'm in the process of completing, I think it's that one with the orange label at the moment, actually. I'll probably clean it up later tonight when I get home. Bloody good, just over ice. We did head out on the Gibb River Road out to Equestro, but somehow we didn't get too many photos whilst we were there. Bottom left. What's bottom left?
Just
What?
Yeah, that one there. To the right of it.
What? Oh. Yeah, me. Okay.
Yeah, it's amazing what stickers are on this sign. Now, we ventured out to Lake Argyle and I took a photo of it just to show some kind of relevance to the size of this place. It is phenomenally huge.
Yeah, once you see some of the photos when we're in the boat, so we're on a lake cruise, you'd swear you're out at sea.
Apparently,
So here's a shot
Lake
here.
Argyle is something equivalent of 19 Sydney harbours. It's something like, I think 20 k's long and I'm not sure how many k's wide, and the deepest was at 40 metres or 60 metres something. But like I said, it's like you're out in the open ocean in a couple of spots.
I was surprised that most of the islands, and you'll see from some of these shots, the foreshore was still very barren, although this place has been flooded for a long time. So it takes a long time before the sort of vegetation that you normally see along the foreshore of a lake really takes hold.
So while we're taking this cruise, the skipper actually pulled up close to this jabberoo and actually told us it was an active nest. So you can just see the top of one or two of the chicks there.
Yeah, you can see the little grey heads in the nest there. Here's the luxury cruiser. But as you can see there, you know, you can barely see the land. You really does feel like you're at sea, except it's fresh water, obviously. Yeah. So that's, I think it's been a bit of landslide or something, you know, some time ago, I guess, but dropped into the water. So you see what I mean? It's not like what you'd expect the side of a, you know, if it was a natural freshwater.
But even looking at that water line, like apparently at the moment, I think that was at 98 or 99%. That high water mark is 100 and something %, where it does get to in the big rains. The funny thing was there was a lot of markers through the water, and we did question it, and they hold marathons there. So there's a 10K and a 20K swimming marathon, which I found was quite interesting.
There's a rock wallaby. There are quite a few.
There was rock wallabies
They were
basically on every cave, every rock face. There was a lot of
and
rock
on
wallabies.
these, you know, kind of islands as well in the middle of the lake. So they were by far the most popular mammal that we saw.
Yeah, well, here's one of them. So to hear that there wasn't a swimming marathon and there's 25,000 resident freshwater crocs in this waterway. There's no way that I was going in there.
But the freshwater crocs avoid you. They're not. They're not as not dangerous like the
No,
saltwater
not
ones.
dangerous at all.
Or
But
so they say. But I wasn't going to pat him. These.
white-quilled
Will.
rock pigeons. There was 2 or 3 of them flying around there.
So Ben's used his zoom lens there to zoom in and focus exactly on the prize, as you can see.
I do believe this was a phone one.
Yeah, this was cool.
This is what the whole trip was about. It was to
To
a
me.
place called Chat Island,
Yeah.
and it's one place that holds the yellow chats.
So for those who know me, I've bred well, I haven't actually bred crimson chats because they're the common ones, but I've bred stacks of the white and the yellow chats. But the orange chats, but not the yellow chats are not in captivity. So they're on this island found in this area. So I was like, nearly wetting myself when I saw these yellow chats. And you'll see I got quite a decent video of them actually. So there's the first cock bird that I spotted sitting there, and I'm actually that's with the phone camera. So you can imagine I'm fairly close. And then he led me to where his hen was, who's just there. No, that's the cockbird again. The hen is somewhere. You'll see in a minute. There she is. There's the hen.
And this place, we finally discovered the nest because both birds were carrying insects. So we thought, they got chicks here somewhere. We just couldn't find it. After we almost gave up, we started walking away, and there was 4 of us there, and 2 of the people going, we can hear the chicks. Where the chicks were basically at the base of their feet, just a clump of grass. As we were walking away, I turned back, saw the cock go down. It was a clump of grass like this, like a cooch, and just parted. There were 2 nearly about to fledge chicks there. We're basically on top of them.
Yeah, I mean, if they're anything like the other chats, I reckon they'd make fantastic aviary species at some stage. And there's a subspecies of them further up that's actually critically endangered. So maybe it's something that we could work on later on in aviculture. Now this, which is not unlike the kind of crap. I don't know what these shrubs are, but it's not unlike it. But this one, for some reason, was absolutely covered in spiders and spiders' webs. I mean, pretty cool because that's like favorite food of why that particular one was covered in spiders' webs and spiders when the others weren't. I'm not really sure. Maybe somebody can work it out. It was kind of creepy, a bit like the Addams Family home or something. Yeah. But all the others weren't covered in it like that, so I don't know why that one was. But anyway, bit of interest. Here's Mr. Chat again. I think a different one actually. I mean, that doesn't do it justice. They're rich yellow, like almost orange in the cocks in when you're actually there. Ben's getting me back now. We must be on the way home now, are we?
Yeah, so we're on the way home now. So we're nearly at the end of it. So, of course, I did see photos of me getting taken asleep. I had to get a couple back, and flying home, we got a 4-hour delay between Perth and Sydney. So someone thought it'd be a good idea to have a bit of a massage and a sleep at the same time.
I've often looked at those massage chairs and thought, I wonder what they're like. They're bloody good, They're bloody good. Well worth whatever it was, $1 or $2 or something there. It was good. And that's the happy crew that were there this year. So we've got Gary Fitt, and that's Sterling Moss, aka Mike Fiddler. So absolutely put it on your bucket list. Do it. It was well worth the admission price, for sure. Absolutely a brilliant thing to do for anybody who's bred finches. Like obviously everybody sitting here listening to this, I would highly recommend you go. And the work of the Save the Gouldian Fund is amazing. I mean, Brian mentioned the NFSA census that's done. And a lot of this, I guess, the impetus of that was thanks to Gary Fitz. So he deserves a pat on the back, as does Mike Fiddler for starting this. But the Gouldian Count as well, there's amazingly trivial amounts of data on wild birds and particularly, threatened species and endangered species. So this data set that's been going on, I'm not sure, Gary will interrupt me if I'm wrong. I think there's probably maybe 10 sets of data now. Is that right, Gary?
2008
pretty good.
we started.
Yeah, so there's been a lot of counts now, and counting it, in a similar area. So that sort of data is absolutely valuable. I know also, and I think it's meant to be a secret, but there's a bit going on with the Save the Gouldian Fund at the moment. Maybe Gary wants to just fill us in on on any research projects, but I know there's going to be some really exciting announcements later on down the track, hopefully. So yeah, pretty impressed with what those guys have been able to achieve, both in Wyndham and, as you know, the facility at Mike's place originally, and then at down in Canberra at ANU for a few years, and obviously in the Kimberley. Did you want to say anything, Gary?
Yeah, I can't yet talk about our big plans, but it's not long before we can share what's going on. But it will be very exciting. In terms of research, we this year supported a research team from England who were working around Wyndham just before the count, and in fact they came and visited us while we were there. I'm not sure if you met them. But we're always looking for activities to support. We during this count, I had a meeting with the local ranger group and with Rodney Fisher, who was one of the 3 Rodneys that you met. And we've now set up a little partnership with the Balangara Rangers, where they've got 3 permanent water points installed that we will use for the count next year. And they've installed some more nest boxes that they're going to monitor for us. So there's activities like that. We're currently doing a research project around Kununurra, around Ord Stage 2, looking at Gouldian management in that area. So yeah, there's a lot of active things happening, and some big announcements we can make at some point fairly soon. And it's fantastic that you guys have donated once again.
Yeah. Cheers, Gary. Can I mention as well for people sitting here, that the Finch Club's donated, or I will by the end of the week, have deposited the money in their account. But and I know the effort that goes into this. The Save the Gouldian Fund is now you can claim a tax deduction. It's now a designated gift recipient with the federal government. So anything you donate to Save the Gouldian Fund, and you can do it online. I think it's savethegouldian.net, if I remember rightly. Anything that you personally donate, you can claim as a tax deduction now off your tax. So well worth it. And I was just going to say, like the Save the Gouldian Fund. I mean, the stuff I'm doing with Australian Society for Avian Preservation and Black-throated Finches, the stuff that the Red Siskin Initiative's doing, the stuff that we've talked about with ACTP, and there are no doubt, and there are a number of other programs going on around the world. The Liz McCaw stuff, in fact, was sponsored by a lot of American agricultural organisations as well, and they were big movers on that. Those sort of projects, they're great. Obviously, they're great for the species that you're talking about, but they're absolutely brilliant in terms of promoting the value of agriculture to government and to policymakers. They're worth $1 million. So even if you are sceptical about the science that's being done and all the rest of it, as an agriculturist, I would advise you to invest a little bit of money by donating to one or more of these charities, because what you're getting back is the ability to continue keeping birds, because really the data that they're getting and the information that we're getting and the kudos and all the rest of it with government is what's keeping us going. It's unbelievably important at the meetings that I've been to over the years with ministers and government. They really are interested in that side of aviculture, the conservation work that we're doing. So yeah, go get online. The people on Zoom are already online, so they can go to savethegouldian.net and click and donate $100 now before we say goodnight, can't they? Anyway,
can I just say something else quickly, Sam?
Sure.
Our website doesn't yet show the new bank account details. We're getting the whole website upgraded. So if anybody does want to make a donation in the next couple of weeks, email me first to get the new bank account details. If you want to claim a tax deduction.
Well, is it time for everyone to go to sleep? Mate, what time is it? 10 to 10. 10 to 10, 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 10 to 10. You guys want to say anything? Say goodbye? Yeah. What do we got to do now? I'll hand back over to the boss.
All right, thank you very much, guys. So we got to draw the raffle now. And just before you start drawing the raffle, let me just say the winner of the bag of seed tonight is Cheryl. Congratulations.